Hey everyone, welcome back to my blog and welcome to my new YouTube channel. I'm Casey and I'm going to start showing you my 3D sparks of imagination, which I'm super excited about. So my 3D sparks are of course my D&D models for your campaign that you can use. They are props. So the first one that I'm going to show you today is how I made a bag, and the other one I made is a bar counter. The bag I had more in mind that you could use in your campaign as either full of grain or it was full of loot, as it shows up in a kitchen or it shows up in your dungeon. Wherever you need your adventurers to find them, it'll be there, whatever you put in. So the other one, the bar counter, I kind of pictured more as a tavern piece, but again, wherever you need a bar counter, it's pretty simplistic, so that way it's not like, oh, this only fits in one room. You can use it for whatever you need it for. So without any further delay, let's get started. Okay, so here you can see I just started out with a simple circle, minimized the vertices down to 12, made sure my scene was set to inches instead of blender units, and also made sure the circle itself was set to an inch instead of the default 2. And then I reset the grid. Well, didn't redid the grid so that way it fit with what I needed it to. Usually I like to have it 4 lines per inch, just so that way it's in quarters. But here you'll see how I'll go through and model pretty quickly the bag that I'm trying to achieve here. Nothing fancy, just kind of a simple sack bag prop for your campaign. Trying to go in once I did the subdivisions to make it look a little bit more organic, but keep that flat bottom and the hole in the center so that way it uses less material for printing, thus of course making it cheaper. But again, just going in, making it more organic looking, adding some divots and everything in it. And then I wanted to add a rope around the neck of the bag to hold it, so I'm using a curve just to kind of model around it. I don't use curves that often, so it looks like I'm struggling with it. Well, kind of am. But then, of course, I just give the rope some body by adding another circle, thickening it up to be the appropriate size, and just adjusting where it is, but not worrying about making it perfect either, because once I convert it to a mesh, as you can see here, I can go in and get those details by just either making it closer or adjusting the height, whatever I needed to do. And then to fix the intersection of the rope, I added 2 spheres so it could create kind of like a knot look on it. Just, pretty simple, nothing fancy. It's, a bag. It's not supposed to look that fancy for a prop. Something simple that would easily print. However, of course, those of you that might have experience modeling for animations know that you don't want to do this, but since it's printing, it doesn't really matter. Having triangles and things like that in it are going to be okay. The printer won't care. As long as you don't have holes in the mesh or extra vertices somewhere, as long as the model is solid, it's watertight, as you might say, it'll be fine. However, you can see here that I had a lot of issues with the Boolean, which I usually don't. I usually have a lot of luck with it, and it's worked perfectly for most of my models that are for sale in Shapeways or ones that I printed myself. For whatever reason, though, I guess because the way I did it was not happy. So whenever I added the rope and the knot, or the 2 circles, it would just create this hole, or it wouldn't connect all the way. At first I was like, okay, I tried to take in the center. As you can see here, I took in the center of the rope, and then I shrunk it down so that way when it's added with the Boolean, you won't have any gaps or extra vertices or anything. But for whatever reason, it still wouldn't work for me. So I scrapped it. Scrapped it, and then I went ahead and just extruded the mesh from the neck itself to just kind of give it a ridge and make a rope there. And then here I'm trying to make a knot, but it didn't work, so I just patched it back up. kind of just was done with it at that point and exported it as is. I might revisit it at a later date though. So here, as you can see, I'm just starting with a square. Made sure my scene was set to inches again. Cut the square in half, and then added the mirror modifier too, so that way I only have to model 1/2 of the bar counter. It just makes it a lot easier for me. Since it is going to be the same exact thing on the other side, why do twice the work? So on the top, I just extruded the top half of the bar to make the countertop part. And I had, as you saw earlier, had added the subdivision surface modifier, so that way it has some rounded edges to it. And then I will just sharpen everything else that needs to be not rounded. On the front of the counter, of course, I'm just adding some minor details, just to make it, have some more character, look a little bit nicer, and not just be this weird block in your tavern or whatever you might use it for in your campaign. Made sure, of course, that it was centered and, just gave it a nice detail. Pretty basic though, nothing fancy, so that way it can fit anywhere. And of course, on the back, I'm adding some shelving. It doubles as the shelves and also the holes like I did for the bag, so that way it uses less material to print, keeping it at a better price point. So at the top though, I decided to add a little bit more character by adding a little bell on top. That way, it would just add that nice piece of character and just add another element to it to make it stand out as that cute counter that you might want to use for your campaign. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you gained some useful insight for how I create my 3D models in Blender. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate any feedback that you can give me. Make sure you also put in the comments, if you have your own Shapeways shop, put a link down there so that way I can follow you, and mine will be in the description below. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.